People ask me about my art, the vision for it, and where it originates. I layer images and materials like layers of skin that house the life of my work. Death and life permeate my art, but I include an element of hope. In 1984, my wife and I moved from Seattle to rural Appalachia so that I could pursue a graduate degree in art. We left a city surrounded by water for rolling hills of colorful leaves. Water always represented life to me, but also death. We lived in Athens, Ohio for 20 years. After graduate school, we lived in a trailer for 7 years. We had no money or medical insurance. I worked odd jobs and taught adjunct while working as an artist. After a few years, my life took a radical change. A woman in our church constantly asked me if I was feeling okay. She said God told her to pray for me. I felt fine. Months later, in 1990, I was diagnosed with cancer. First, I was misdiagnosed and waited a year to go back to the doctor. After a second visit, I went to a surgeon in Columbus, Ohio. He was one of the top surgeons in the country for my type of cancer. After CAT scans and other tests, the surgeon removed a tumor. It was malignant. It had also metastasized. Cancer cells were spreading through my body by way of my bloodstream. My case was presented to the Ohio State University Medical Board. A panel of 5 surgeons unanimously agreed. I was scheduled for a radical lymphadenectomy and a minimum of 6 months of chemotherapy. My surgeon suggested that we make out our wills. We were praying for my healing. We learned it could cost $100,000 when we didn't have it. We learned to put our trust in God. People began speaking positive words of encouragement to me. Sometimes they would quote scriptures that they believed God had given them for me. They believed I would be healed. One person in particular stands out, the woman who had asked me if I was okay. She said that she was continuing to pray for me. One day she said that Jesus had appeared to her in a dream and showed her that I was healed. At first I was a little skeptical. She supported her account with a testimonial. She told us she had converted to Christianity and that her non-believing husband on several occasions beat her due to her being a Christian. More than once he broke her nose, and each night Jesus healed her by morning. Others who knew her confirmed her story. In addition, God encouraged my heart. He said, at the appearing of our great God and Savior, He healed us, not because of the righteous things we've done, but because of His great mercy. The surgeon told me there was a chance that I might not make it through the 5.5-hour surgery. Vicki and I prayed together, and then we said goodbye. I remember being rolled down the hall and thinking I may not see her again. I prayed that God would take care of her. Placing her in His hands gave me an inexpressible peace. 46 lymph nodes were successfully removed. After several days in intensive care and a lengthy hospital stay, the biopsies from the lymph nodes came back. The surgeon personally delivered the results. Mysteriously, the cancer had disappeared. He told me that he was baffled. There was no medical explanation for it. As I quizzed, he explained that it wasn't in remission, it just didn't exist anymore. I followed up with the necessary tests, and 19 years later, I still have no cancer. I believe I was spared for a purpose. I see my art as a conduit for good and encouragement to others. I want the life I've received to be transmitted to those around me. Water and light have been very powerful symbols for cleansing and rebirth for me. The butterfly and dragonfly are symbols for renewal. I believe that life and death are in the tongue. Words have power. My goal is to uplift others through my words. I want my mouth to be a conduit for the hope in me. In response to viewing reliquaries on a trip to Italy, I began to scavenge deteriorated butterflies and insects and commemorate them in my art. In my paintings, I give them symbolic life, making something positive and meaningful of a destructive event.